I'll just do a sound check. I see Councilor Mantis. How are you?
All well, how are you?
Good, good.
Here we go.
All right, I'm here. I'm just going to turn off my camera until we start.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Councillor Nick Mantis. I am the Vice Chair of the Scarborough Community Council and will be chairing this meeting. We have quorum. I am now calling meeting 9 to order. Welcome, everyone. Today's meeting is being held by video conference and in person at the Scarborough Civic Center in the Council Chamber. This meeting is also being live streamed online at youtube.com/Toronto City Council Live. Members, I would like to start today's meeting by asking you to join me in observing a moment of silence in memory of Norma Mackenzie, mother of Councillor Thompson, who recently passed away. Councillor Thompson, our sincere sympathy to you. Please stand if you are able. Thank you, everyone. We'll now move to our land acknowledgement. Although we may be meeting in different locations today, Community Council would like to acknowledge that the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit and the Williams Treaties, signed with multiple Mississaugas and Chippewa bands. If you are registered to speak at today's meeting, please listen to me to call your name. I will call speakers in the order that appear on the list. The list of the speakers can be viewed online by visiting the Scarborough Community Council page at toronto.ca/council and clicking the speakers box for today's meeting. Members, the City Clerk has provided all agenda materials on toronto.ca/council and on CMP, the Clerk's meeting portal. Clerk's IT staff are available to members if you need help with your devices. I also want to remind you to please submit and approve your motions by email. Staff are available at sec@toronto.ca to help with motions. Are there any declarations of interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act? Seeing none, if you do have an interest, please raise your hand and unmute your mic and indicate the item number and the nature of the interest. Seeing none, we will proceed. Councillor Myers, would you like to... Sorry, everyone, today. It's been a little weird. May I have a motion to confirm the minutes from our last meeting on October 19, 2023? Councillor Myers, all in favor? Carried. Before we go through the items of the agenda, we have a special guest attending our community council today. The City of Toronto's 7th Poet Laureate, Ms. Lillian Allen. Lillian Allen is an advocate for poetry, language of the arts. She is a champion for local literary arts writers and youth-supported arts program. The position, which was inaugurated in 2001, honors a Toronto poet whose work displays excellence and who has written on themes relevant to Torontonians. Lillian Allen was named Toronto Poet Laureate by Toronto City Council in May 2023. Welcome, Ms. Allen, and please join us.
Thank you. Thank you. It is a singular pleasure to be here today as a poet and to share with you a piece I penned to commemorate the 50th anniversary of this spectacular civic center. I just want to say poetry has lived forever and is such an important tool, especially for youth. It is one of the most peaceful way to be in community and to be with each other. And for that and other reasons of language and what it conveys and holds, I will always be an advocate of poetry, and thank you very much, council members, for supporting the Poet Laureateship. To Scarborough Civic Center. Oh, to be 50 and ready to roll. From the grit and the glory, what a legacy to behold. Standing beside a grand old oak, a civic center that spirals with its bold brightness of colors from which we will build leaders for today and for tomorrow. The Scarborough Civic Center gathering place, a circle that radiates in the name of service to community, a beacon aglow in storm or calm weather, an architectural delight, a reflection of democracy that makes us remember how far we have come, how much we have done, and so many ways how we begun, and where we all enter. Over 100 different cultures replanting roots, indigenous soil, but together we dream, together we toil, and still we must travel on together. And every day will be another day to try again. And for the children, yes, we will rise again. Hold steady to triumph and build our caring vision of Scarborough, filled with a bursting energy of hope, prosperity, and joyousness. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Allen, for the beautiful poem and for coming here and sharing it with us. We can now go through the agenda items. Now, what we're going to do today is, because we have a couple items that have very few deputants and one that has many deputants, we're going to go with the items that have the few deputants first, and then we're going to do the item 9.1 that has the many. So I would like to, first we're going to do So 9 point, SC 9.1, 150 Clonmore Drive, zoning amendment application decision report approval. It is held, and we will be moving to SC 9.2, which has few deputants. So SC 9.2, 20 Stonehill Court, zoning amendment decision report approval. Are the speakers here for the item? David? Come on down. You want to do that? Yes. Do the run through first. Okay. David, just give us, sorry, one more minute. SC 9.3, 1001 Ellesmere Road, part lot control exemption application, decision report approval. Ward 21.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I can move the staff recommendations.
All in favor? Staff recommendations? Approved. SC 9.4, 4674 Kingston Road, zoning amendment application, appeal report, Ward 25. Councillor McKelvey? We have hold for speakers.
I think we have speakers.
We have
Do we have speakers?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. SC 9.5, 3719, 3721, 3723, 3725 Sheppard Avenue East, and 2255 Birchmount Road, residential demolition application, Ward 22. In my ward, I would like to move recommendation number 3 to approve the application to demolish the residential buildings with the following conditions: that a construction fence be created in accordance with the provisions of the Municipal Code, Chapter 363, Article 7, if deemed appropriate by the chief building official; that all debris and rubble be removed immediately after demolition; that sod be laid on the site and be maintained free of garbage and weeds in accordance with the Municipal Code, Chapter 629-10, Paragraph B and 629-11, and that all holes on the property are backfilled with clean fill. Anyone in favor? Carried. SC 9.6, 50 Wexford Boulevard, application to remove a private tree, Ward 21. Councillor Thompson?
I'll hold that. I just have some questions for staff.
Okay. SC 9.7, 64 Larwood Boulevard, application for fence exemption, Ward 20.
Thank you. I am moving the alternate rec.
Have them on the screen. Okay. All in favor?
Thank you. And this is to grant the exemption, and the applicant's been working with TRCA on this.
Okay. All in favor? Carried. SC 9.8, 56 Larwood Boulevard, application for fence exemption, Ward 20.
Likewise, I'm moving the alternate, and the applicant's working with the TRCA.
All right. All in favor? Carried. SC 9.9, Birchmount Road and Chaldean Street, Glendower Circuit, pedestrian crossing protection, Ward 22. So this item was brought by students in my ward with a petition for a pedestrian crossing. And we have reviewed it, and even though it does not warrant transportation's recommendations, because it is a halfway distance between the two traffic lights, and children do cross every day to go to school off of Chaldean on Birchmount Road. I'm asking that we authorize the traffic control signal at Birchmount Road and Chaldean. So we have the motion on screen. All in favor? Carried. Thank you, colleagues, for voting on this for this item. SC 9.10, Gooderham Drive, traffic calming speed humps, Ward 21. Councillor Thompson?
Thank you. I'm just going to hold this down. I have some questions for staff, and I do have a motion to change the recommendation, but I'd like to have a quick discussion on this item. Thank you.
SC 9.11, Port Union Road Road Safety Review Update, Ward 25. Councillor McKelvey?
Thank you. I have an alternate recommendation to delete and replace. So this is recognizing the updated traffic calming policy, which we just passed last month, authorizing installation of traffic calming on Port Union Road. As you'll remember, we had deferred this item, waiting for that report to go through and to be authorized. And so now it does meet the new updated warrant system. So I'm moving installation.
All right. All in favor? Carried. SC 9.12, road safety on Watson Street, Ward 25. Councillor McKelvey?
Thank you. I'll move the recommendation.
All right. All in favor? Carried. SC 9.13, road safety on Vessel Crescent. Actually, I see that we have, it's held by Councillor McKelvey. We have speakers. SC 9.14, 1290 to 1300 Danforth Road, designation of fire routes and amendment to Chapter 880 fire routes. Councillor Thompson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd move the staff recommendations.
All in favor? Carried. And now we're going to go back up. And here's the last one. SC 9.15, installation of all-way compulsory stop control, Village Green Square, 2 locations. But this is to be added as a new business. All in favor to be added? Carried. Now, I will be moving staff recommendations for the item. All in favor? Carried. Yeah. Now let's return to item number 2. 20 Stonehill Court, zoning amendment decision report approval. I believe David is here to speak to us. Good morning, David. He's already up. You have 5 minutes to speak.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of committee. My name is David Mackay. I'm a registered professional planner with MHBC representing the applicant. I'm here in support of the staff recommendation. We've worked diligently with staff, and I thank them for their diligence in moving this project forward. It will provide additional housing units in the Finch and Warden area and improve the existing condition of an apartment neighborhood site. And we'd request approval of the recommendation today from council, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that may arise. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Any questions for the deputy? Seeing none. Questions? No, sorry, questions I heard. I would like to call Miss Ingrid Lambie to speak. Is she online? Don't have her. Okay. Any questions to staff on the item? Seeing none. I would like to move staff recommendations on the item. All in favor? Carried. SC SC 9.4, 4674 Kingston Road zoning amendment application, appeal report. We have one speaker, Ms. Deborah Elliott, to speak.
Oh, yes,
Good morning,
I'm
Deborah.
here.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You will have 5 minutes to speak on the item. And your
Yes,
time starts
thank
now.
you. Thank you very much. Good morning, Mr. Chair and committee members. Thank you for having me. I had forwarded a written notice as well for this. I am a resident owner of the YCC 501 condominium complex at 4662 Kingston Road. My front overlooks the 4674 Kingston Road property. I attended the April 18th, 2023 committee consultation meeting, and we are a community of 100 houses, a mixture of single houses and townhouses with one or two homeowners of different familial family groups, children, older people. There are several concerns that have not been addressed by the developer. In my submission, there was parking, removal of our wall, removal of trees in our complex, which we pay an arborist to check once or twice a year or as needed. There are assumptions that we are a public thoroughfare for service trucks through our development once the development is completed. We pay condo fees for the maintenance of our yards, for the maintenance of our roads, for everything. And the addresses that were concerned is parking, the openness of their area, our roads, because they think that our roads can become a service road for their trucks to fill in their grocery stores and extra parking and everything. The privacy will be lost. My privacy, my sunshine, and my front will be lost because the building, they want to do it up to 13 stories instead of 8. The studies the developer gave were fine, but during the April 18th meeting, the developer we asked with the city, Ms. McKelvey was there as well. We asked them for more insight, more reports. We haven't found any of these reports. So we find that this developer is lacking in helping us build a community, because we have a community here. We're just not a buildings with people in it. So the thing is that for them to go to the OLT to make a paragraph, which the only changes they stated were so many electric vehicle cars that they will have and short-term parking, is not what we're looking for. We're looking for what's the impact in our nature because we're so close to the Rouge. What's the impact in our soil, in our water, in the infrastructure? Line 3 is down. How's the TTC going to, impact all these people that are supposed to be moving in? So I find it an empty promises of this developer through the April 18th meeting. And so this is why I felt it was important to write something as well as make myself known that we need more. We need a sense of community and more reports. They haven't given their part of the bargain, what they talked about in April 18th. So I don't understand why they're going with the OLT, just to bypass the city and just put up their building for profit. This shouldn't be the way, because affordable housing is not what they said. Where we live in Scarborough is different than downtown. So we want to be known and to make sure that everybody's happy and people will live and respect and make a sense of community. But we don't need to have developers come through and figure they can go into a private area and just use our space. Because it's not profit, it's community, and it's our birds, our animals, woodpeckers, owls, everything we have in this area. So I thank you very much for your time and my written communication and listening to my concerns over the OLT. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Elliott. Any questions to the deputy? Councillor Thompson?
Thank you very much. Through you, Mr. Chair, to the deputant. could you explain, when you say you need more reports, what are the reports that you're hoping to discern or to have? And what information are you looking forward to receiving through those reports?
Well, in the meeting for April 18th, they had said that they would do more environmental studies. So because we have different studies where we are in the Rouge area, we have the Rouge National Park close by. There were supposed to be soil samples. There were supposed to be further reporting on the environmental impact of their building. So those haven't happened, and I don't see any reports being forwarded to us onto the city's website or anything. Nothing has changed with this. So we don't understand why, if we don't have any more information, why they're going to the OLT. I understand it's because of the 90 days, but the developer has not, given us more information and worked with the community.
Okay.
So that's what we're wondering. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And then can you help me to understand, you talk a little bit about the removal of trees and walls. Those are trees and walls that are private, part of the private property of the condo corporation. Is that what
Yes.
the situation is?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and so
Yes, it is.
so you're saying to us that they have removed those trees and walls illegally?
They want to remove those trees
So
and
that,
walls. If you look at their plans, their plans have the removal of the walls and trees in our complex.
fair enough.
And
I appreciate that, ma'am,
Yeah.
but is there not a process that they would have to go through in terms of either negotiation and or permission that they would get either from your board or I guess, the property management organization that's taking care of the property? Is there not a process that they would go through if, in fact, they have to remove walls and trees?
I would assume so, but our board at that time, at the April meeting and everything, they did not approach the board.
Have
So I
you?
am not sure, because I am not a board member. I am just a concerned citizen.
Fair enough.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Fair enough. I appreciate that, and I appreciate your concern, but I'm just wondering then, in view of the fact that you've just stated you're not a board member, there are procedures in which non-board members would be able to get information from the board itself and or the property management. So my question to you, have you basically followed through that process in order to acquire the needed information to understand whether or not the walls and or trees will be removed, as you say, without what appears to be what you're saying, without permission? Because I don't think that's possible.
Yes, I have. And the information we have is that, as far as we know, or anyone in the complex knows, is that they have not approached our board.
Okay.
But it is still in their plans.
Okay. And just a final question, Mr. Chair, through you. You talk about the open access, that you talk about vehicles driving through. You use the term, I believe, throughfare, where the concern is that the vehicles that are, I guess, connected with the development of that site, I guess maybe the contractors and others driving through the condo property. Can you explain to us what is the sort of connection and how the concern that you have is in essence affecting you and your neighbors?
So our address is 4662 Kingston Road. So the access is off of Kingston Road, and our roads that we have between our houses are privately owned by the whole condominium corporation. So we pay for the upkeep, we pay for the snow clearing, we pay for everything through our condo fees. So in their plans, they have said that they would be using our roads to take in the trucks that will either do the construction or that will bring supplies to the store or whatever retail they have inside of there through our condominium. So the thing is, we have seniors, we have children that ride bikes, they run free. We have speed bumps here to keep the speed down so that nobody speeds. And so to bring service trucks in or big construction trucks would decrease our safety on our roads. It would make a mess. Who cleans up their dirt? Who cleans up their things like that? Because we maintain everything in our complex because it's a very nice, clean, and safe area.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Miss Elliott, just one question from myself. Has your condo board spoken with the developer to arrange for staging or the transportation of the material?
I'm not sure. They haven't said that, but from the April 18th meeting, we have several of us were here, including the president of the board. And at that time, nobody's talked to them or the developers never reached out to them. Unfortunately, I don't have any current information from the board. I know our president was ill. And so I'm not sure what's happening at the moment. But that's something I could find out by asking.
Okay. Thank you, Miss Elliott.
Thank you.
Any other questions to the deputy? Seeing none, questions to staff. Councillor Myers?
Thank you, through the chair. So just referencing what the deputant was talking about certain reports on soil, trees that were supposed to be done, do we know if those were done?
Through the chair, we haven't received any revised material since the April meeting. They appealed shortly thereafter.
Okay, so we're recommending that this go ahead even though we haven't received those reports?
The recommendation is for staff to attend OLT and oppose
Okay.
the application in its
Okay.
current form. Continuing dialogue, trying to see if that material can be filed outside of a tribunal process. But in our current position is that we're asking council to endorse is to oppose in its current form.
And is the applicant correct that the plan currently envisions taking down their wall and their private trees without their permission?
Through the chair, is the deputy?
Sorry,
Okay,
the
yes,
deputant, sorry. Yeah.
There would be, as Councillor Thompson alluded to, obviously processes in negotiation, including for the tree question, the city's private tree bylaw would apply if the trees qualify for protection.
Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Thompson?
So, through you, Mr. Chair, so what we're doing here today, we're not sanctioning or approving the development. We are responding to the OLT application, which we're required to do.
Through the chair, that's correct.
And we're opposing.
That is through the chair, that is the current position,
And
yes.
we too have concerns with respect to the fact that reports that were promised were not delivered.
Through the chair, that's correct, in addition to issues which we raised through our first commenting period.
That was going to be my next question. What were some of those issues that staff raised as part of the process?
Through the chair, so there were several concerns and everything with regards to the massing of the building, the density of the building, shadow impacts, as well as a prominent component of it is that even at the pre-consultation phase that there was a park block requested because there were several concerns about the sports pad that is existing right now off the property that's immediately abutting to Kingston. So we were seeking to improve that space and everything through a park block as well as determining appropriate access. And one other key thing that we're still looking in with Toronto Water is that there's a prominent easement that bisects through the site, and pretty much trying to demonstrate that a 13-story building with one level of underground parking can actually exist on top of that easement because it is a prominent sewer trunk.
So no stormwater management report, hydrogeological reports, and all of those types of information that we require as professionals, the process you need to be able to make a valid decision has been submitted by the applicant.
Through the chair, the reports were submitted, but we
You wanted
provided
revised
comments.
report,
Exactly.
sorry,
Yeah,
but they
exactly.
have not been submitted.
That is correct.
So the applicant, within their rights, has gone to the OLT, which would be to, and these are just my words, to abridge or abrogate the city's process, so to adjunct it in a way that goes to the OLT, hopefully that they would have a favorable position. And you may not be able to answer that piece of it, but just a decision to change the outcome.
Through the chair, they have chosen that route,
Right.
as you mentioned, is their right. But where we're at right now is the city solicitor would be attending with appropriate staff to contest the application.
Right. Is it then the objective of the city to ask the OLT to allow parties to be able to meet in order to discuss and negotiate an approval, a process where the city would be in support? Or is it a situation where the OLT would make a decision which could perhaps jeopardize the interests of the deputants and others in the community regarding their concerns? Do we run that risk, or is there the potential possibility that that could occur? I guess that's the question.
So through the chair, I'll speak to the recommendations component of that, and then I'll ask my colleague, Mr. Peel, to comment on the rules of the tribunal for party representation. So the recommendation is to oppose in its current form, but to potentially continue conversations with the proponent to seek the material which we were seeing revised or missing through the first round of circulation, and see if a potential outcome could be reached where there is not a contested hearing and the city could take a position to settle. However, with respect to the rules of the tribunal, I'll ask my friend Mr. Peel to comment there.
Thank you.
Yes, good morning. Through the chair. So with respect to parties in addition to the municipality and the appellant participating in a hearing process of a type as this, there is a statutory entitlement for parties to seek status before the OLT and participate fully in the hearing. In order to be granted status, they need to satisfy the requisite tests under the Planning Act for doing so and provide sufficient notice, typically to the tribunal and the other parties, of their interests in the matter.
So just one final thing. So the condo corporation, for example, and or the deputant who spoke, could she or the condo corporation also have status with respect to the OLT process?
So the baseline then for status in terms of who may participate is that it be a legal individual. So a legal individual may be a resident or, in this case, a corporation such as the condominium.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Any other questions to staff? Deputy Mayor McKelvey?
Thank you. What sort of notice is mailed out when something's going to OLT, and what is the radius for it?
So through the chair, this is the city solicitor. So notice typically of a pre-hearing conference would be issued to the municipality and the appellant. That would be scheduled by the OLT. Any parties who would have prior to the pre-hearing conference also requested status and have been granted such status would likely receive the notice from the OLT. But notices go out to those individuals who appear before the OLT and seek status. But as of right, it's the approval authority and the appellant, in the absence of any other parties, who receive notice of the proceedings.
So, I mean, we had a public meeting. We put out notices to the community. So through our process. So right now there are signs out front on this property that make it look like this is now in the hands of the city. However, now it's in the hands of the OLT. So like, how is that signage updated, and how are residents notified that, essentially the applicant has taken this, away from the city and is going to the provincial OLT?
Through the chair, if I may just clarify an earlier comment, when proceedings are initiated at the Ontario Land Tribunal, direction is given by the tribunal, in this case to the appellant, to notify individuals within a certain area of the development application of the fact that an appeal has been filed. So that notice is a function of the litigation process and direction provided to the appellant.
So the condo corporation was notified then of the OLT proceedings?
Through the chair, at the moment, I wouldn't be able to say that for certain. I have not seen the notice that direction.
But they're on, well, I know they're writing to me, so they received it. So, I mean, does everybody that was on our list attending get notice?
No.
Yeah, so typically the process works through the chair such that those individuals who request to be notified through the city clerk's office of any matters related to a particular development application, including appeals that may have been filed, those are typically then forwarded on to the OLT when the appeal is filed for the purposes of preparing the requisite notice.
So it's good that we have a city process that we initiated, so it ensures that the people that were interested in attended get this notice. Okay, great. And I just want to be clear. So the city is not happy with the current form of this application. And again, the recommendation here is to send representation to the OLT to represent the city's position on that.
Through the chair, yes, that is that recommendation.
And then my other question earlier, I think there wasn't an answer on that about signage. And so we still have signage up that says this is, with the city of Toronto and it's with the OLT. So is there anything underway to change signage so that people know that things are going through an OLT proceeding?
Yes, through the chair, in response to, I believe, a member motion at council, we are developing a protocol by which the city sign would either be augmented to indicate that an appeal would be filed through a sticker, much like the community, the statutory meeting sticker that goes on the sign before an approval report is to be heard by council. It would instead say that the application had been appealed and is now before the OLT, and provide information for engaging in that process.
Okay, thank you.
Any speakers on the item? Deputy Mayor McKelvey?
I just think it's unfortunate this is going to the OLT. The city raised concerns, which are very valid concerns about the proposal, and we've heard concerns of neighbors. I think it's unfortunate that the city process has been bypassed. And I'm hopeful that my council colleagues will support me in the recommendation before us, which is to send city solicitor to oppose the project.
Okay. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I will definitely be supporting my colleague and the staff with respect to the recommendations that are here. It's rather unfortunate that we have, and I guess it's not unusual, that we have these types of situations in which an applicant comes in and wishes to develop on a particular site, and for whatever reasons they seem unwilling or uninterested in pursuing the process in a logical way that allows for appropriate input. Our professional staff are always here to work with applicants in order to facilitate a smooth process in which we integrate, because with respect to particularly a lot of these infills that we have to integrate them with respect to the community that's been established and that's there. The applicant, the speaker was very clear that she was concerned that after the April meeting, there wasn't the appropriate reports and information that is needed by the public and by our staff to help them in order to facilitate a process where we smoothly get to a decision which allows the development that integrates and addresses the issues around privacy. And as much as privacy isn't part of the Planning Act per se, but people do have concerns. And it just seems to me that this is rather an unfortunate situation in which some elements of the process in which the applicants seem to be either tone deaf or just not in tune with respect to the valid concerns that are being registered. While we have only one speaker here today, she's been very clear, and her written submission is very clear. They're not simply saying, not in my backyard, we don't want this to happen. They're saying there are concerns, and we would like to have those concerns addressed. We have these processes in which we allow the public to provide input, and we have these, back and forth discussions with our staff and applicants and what have you, and that generally works well. But there are times, and this is one of those times, where it's not working well, and as it is an applicant's right or the city's right to appeal a matter, the OLT is seen as a blunt instrument, and it shouldn't be seen or shouldn't be utilized for that particular process or purpose. It really should be that there is a desire, an intent to work collaboratively with communities, with the city, in order to get a project completed and so on. So this is an unfortunate situation, and it is just that it puts the city in that position. And I think that through the questioning from Deputy Mayor McKelvey around notice, because when you drive by and you see the signs, you think that it's a city that's allowing this particular process. You're not clear, but as Mr. Vendresco has been indicating, that there are changes that are coming, and I can't wait for that to come, because that would help us a lot in order to inform the public as part of a process and so on, to provide a clearer sense of understanding. But the system works because we're here to support the recommendation, and we will go with our solicitor to, the city, to the OLT to defend on behalf of the residents and on behalf of the city's position what our concerns are and so on. So I hope, though, that the applicants perhaps are listening and would be more inclined to want to arrive at a negotiated conclusion, as opposed to a more adversarial process, which is what we see that seeming to be looming here. That's just not the way that we want to work. We'd rather, sit down and negotiate and have information that the public can feel confident with respect to a development taking place in their own community. It's their area, their community. They know it. The old expression, he who knows it the best, obviously is able to communicate as to their issues and concerns. So I'm supporting the recommendations that are here, Mr. Chair, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Councillor Myers?
No, I just echo what Councillor Thompson said, and I support Deputy Mayor McKelvey and city staff and the deputant to raise their concerns about the application. I think they're all very valid.
Thank you, Councillor Myers. All in favor of staff recommendations? Carried. Our next item is SC 9.13, Road Safety on Vessel Crescent. Councillor McKelvey, we have one speaker on this item, Jim Splinter. I don't see Jim online. All right. Any questions to staff from my fellow colleagues? Deputy Mayor McKelvey?
No, we received concerns from a large number of residents on Vessel Crescent, so we're putting this forward for consideration by Transportation Services.
Okay. Any speakers on the item? None? Okay. Moving staff recommendations? All in favor?
Sorry, they're my recommendation from a letter, not
Correct.
staff.
Ah,
So it's to us staff. Yeah. Okay.
okay.
All in favor.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Now let's go back to item SC 9.1, 150 Clonmore Drive, zoning amendment application, decision report approval. We have 17 speakers on this matter. What we'll do is we will start with a presentation first, so that way everyone has a better understanding of the project before we'll go into speakers. Staff, would you like to present?
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Scarborough Community Council. My name is Samuel Barron, and I'm a senior planner in the Scarborough Community Planning District. I will be sharing a short presentation through WebEx. If you'll just give me a moment, I'll ensure I'm promoted as a panelist. Excellent, thank you. So I have 3 slides which I'll walk council through to illustrate staff's position on this project. So with reference to our staff report, city planning staff are recommending approval of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment on this site, which seeks to construct a 12-story residential building consisting of 290 residential units, 162 parking spaces, and approximately 18,144 square meters of residential gross floor area. Staff find that the proposed development is consistent with the applicable provincial policies, conforms with the growth plan, and advances official plan direction, particularly for mixed-use areas, which this site is designated. So I'll just take a moment to highlight some key points from our staff report. So as I'd mentioned, the subject site is designated mixed-use in our official plan. It's on a major street. Importantly, mixed-use areas are anticipated to absorb the majority of the city's future growth. So the proposed residential intensification on this underutilized property implements official plan direction for our mixed-use areas. Regarding the height and built form, as a mid-rise building, typically we would want to ensure that the building's height corresponds to the adjacent street, so we look for a one-to-one relationship with height to the street. So it's typically at parity as per the mid-rise building guidelines. And importantly, a building has to be under what's called an angular plane, which is a tool that we use to regulate height. So in this case, although the building is taller than the adjacent right-of-way, which is Clonmore Drive, there's a generous setback of approximately 10 meters from the building face to the curb line, which allows for the building to be under that angular plane. So for this reason, staff can support the proposed height on the building, and we find that it's acceptable. In terms of the other built form, it proposes a consistent 5-story street wall and maintains good building proportions and public realm, with a design that ensures adequate access to sunlight and comfortable wind conditions. So this is my final slide. In terms of context, so the subject lands are part of an emerging mixed-use neighborhood, which is characterized by different scales of development intensity on the north side of Clonmore Drive. So just to orient you, Council, this area is generally bounded by Gerrard Street East, Victoria Park Avenue in the west. So there's a CP rail corridor to the north, and the proposal we're talking about is the orange building displayed on the screen right now. So this proposal, with reference to the context, is contextually appropriate as it joins recent and existing approvals together that are now under construction in the area. Some of those projects include, so they're the yellow tall buildings on the screen. These are the Conservatory Group plans, which has zoning approvals in place dating back to 1968. Permissions granted for 4 tall apartment buildings. Those approvals have never been pursued. The most recent of which was a site plan in 2020, which proposed a 33-story residential building, and it is subject to an OLT appeal at the moment. But ultimately, those approvals have never been pursued to the full extent. And then further west, right along Gerrard Street and Victoria Park Avenue, is the Birch Cliff Quarry redevelopment, which staff sought approval for, I believe it was in 2020, and it's currently under construction at the moment. With approximately 10,053 residential units, and that is the bluish buildings on the screen, which are along Victoria Park Avenue. That includes 2 new public streets and a range of mid-rise buildings. And then lastly, just further east of the site, there's bluish massing just east of the site there. There's some low-rise townhouses. There are 7 blocks and they contain 121 units, and that's 168 Clonmore Drive, and that's designated neighborhoods in the official plan. So when we look at the as of right zoning approvals and the emerging context north of Clonmore and Gerrard Street, staff have found that the proposed height of 12 stories is appropriate for the site. The building has been massed and located to provide appropriate transition between these different areas of development intensity. It aligns nicely with the street. It's set back with a generous setback of 10 meters. As such, city's planning staff are recommending approval of the zoning bylaw amendment. Thank you, Council, for your time this morning and for the opportunity to speak on the project. And we understand that there are many concerns, 17 speakers here today, and we have staff in attendance as well, so we're happy to answer any questions that anyone might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Samuel. Do you want to ask questions first, or do you want to go to speakers and see if we also have questions? We'll go to speakers. The first speaker is Allison Drader. Is Allison online? Okay. She's not here. Okay, second speaker is Jenny Assistant. Yes. Jenny? Jenny's not here either. Anchor Assistant. Okay, Anchor's not here. Bruce Gorganier. Bruce, come on down. Okay. Saad Khan and Sahir Shafiq. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Hello? Oh, yes, we're on. Yes. My name is Bruce Gordonier, and I live at 129 Queensbury Avenue. I would like to put in for a deferral on this project, but I don't think the building should be 12 stories. I think it should only be 6. And with the traffic in the area, it's horrendous at times. Not only that, it's the parking is another big thing. With what they charge for parking in a condo, they're only gonna, and they may have 2 cars. They're only gonna buy 1 space. Where do they park the rest? It's gonna be on Queensbury Avenue. That's the closest one, and maybe Cornell. That's another concern. And I don't think it should be 12 stories. I think 6 is high enough. It shouldn't be any higher than the roof of the quarry. The quarry village. Shouldn't be any higher than that. And we're talking sunlight and everything else. What about the houses across the street? You put that in, it's going to block the sunlight. That's another thing. But traffic is the biggest thing too. But that's about all I have to say. But like I say, I'd like to put in for a deferral.
Thank you, Mr. Gorganier. Any
Thank you.
questions to the deputant? Councillor Myers.
Thank you, through the chair. Just to be clear, I'm not arguing with you, but just so you know, do you know that certain buildings have to be a certain height because the economics of the project have to make sense? So you might say 6 stories would be the ideal, but 6 stories might not make sense from a business perspective.
Well, now do they have to put
In terms
in
of like
for,
the project has to be profitable in order for it to go forward, and that's all projects, not just this one.
okay.
And the other question, just a question, is there, I know the Victoria Park is a 20-minute walk from the site. Is there a bus stop or anything else accessible, public transit-wise, close to that area?
Yes, there is.
Okay. Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Gorganier.
Thank you.
We will call now We have David Leslie and Philip Carson. So David's going to go first.
Hello, yeah, I'm Philip Carson here, and I'm looking for a deferment on this issue myself, because we don't have a Ward 20 councillor to speak for us, to represent us in this residential area, which is completely residential. And also because you know, we got the mayor that's been on TV quite often now wanting no more of these high-rise condominium developments. And she's asking for 4-story, 6-story buildings, so it's more community-oriented. And that's what she said on the news last week. And so putting something like this building for this size with 300 units with only half the parking, 160 parking spaces, where are the other cars going to go? Okay? And also, these laws that the developers have, I feel are totally against the residents and the businesses that are already there, that the builder only has to give up to 150 meters away. And then the builder did not feel that the other residents in the area should be notified, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. And that law should be changed also. And I also feel that we should have the proper council representative here, because our representative, Mr. Crawford, took his severance, as everyone well knows, the $120,000 severance, and disappeared. And then we seen him on TV going for the Gildan councilship there, without a word to any of the residents in Ward 20.
Mr. Carson, you need to speak on the issue, not about former Councillor Crawford.
Okay, I see what you're saying there, yes, okay. But okay, so I feel we need a proper councilman that is elected that's going to happen on November 30th, that will be elected to represent the people here. This should be put off and deferred, absolutely. That's our legal right to ask. And I'm asking for that. And you know, to put a monstrosity of a building up there, it doesn't fit in at all with the residents down there. We got the residential houses down there. They've been ripping down these $1 million 1950 houses and building $3 million houses up there. And they all have youngsters in there, young kiddos. It's a whole different area now. And I went around and delivered, and my friend David here to let the residents know what was going on. And this will reach down to the people down on Fallingbrook and Queen Street, and this will reach 2 miles away, 2 kilometers away, and affect all the residents down there, this building, because of the traffic. There's only 1 lane traffic east and west on Clonmore where this building's going in. To put it back, as Samuel says, back is ridiculous, because the cars that this building is going to produce, and the stacked townhouses that also Core Development has developed, will just be a complete more congestion. Absolutely, because this is the gateway down to the downtown core for the masses of cars that go there to work, and then they come back home here the same way. And I just feel that this is totally inappropriate for our area. And I urge the council people to drive down there and take a look and do your research before you come up with your decision. Drive down the area, the side streets and everywhere else, and take a look at our residential area and all our youngsters playing out in the street. And this is not for our area whatsoever.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Garson. Any questions? Councilor Myers.
Thank you, through you, Chair. So you said repeatedly that this is not for our area. Do you acknowledge that the area is relatively close to a subway station?
A subdivision, what are you talking about, a subdivision where?
A subway station, sorry.
A
Victoria
subway
Park.
station.
Yes.
Well, the condominiums at Victoria Park and Girard that are being built now, as Samuel mentioned, is a lot closer to the subway and all the grocery stores and the Shoppers World down there. So I would feel that people would be buying the condominiums down at first be looking at Victoria Park and Girard for the condominiums down there. They're going to have roads and parks and more and gyms and pools in their condominiums. And this core development, we don't even know if this is going to be selling these as condominiums or if he's going to sell it to the city for community housing. And that's another issue that has not been answered by court development whatsoever. So we would like to have that in writing, what he wants to do with this building that he proposes. If it's going to be for condominiums or apartment building or apartment building for community housing. And community housing, sure, I'm all for community housing, but you have to do it in a reasonable way. You just can't put a building there and all of a sudden sell it to the city for community housing. And the whole thing is community housing.
Well, sir,
It wouldn't fit into our residential area at all. You have any other questions for me?
Yes, I do. So this is a 20-minute walk to Victoria Park Station, which is, for Scarborough, relatively close to mass transit. So I expect that if a building does go ahead, not everybody would be driving, and some people would opt to take public transit.
Well, that
Do you
is true.
agree with that statement or not?
I agree with that statement, but people, if you can buy a condominium for the same price over at Victoria Park and Girard, that has all the amenities over there. They got streets and more parking, and it's closer to the subway. Of course, they're going to buy there. Why would they buy for this applicant's developed 12-story humongous monstrosity of a building that doesn't fit in to our residential area at all? They would not buy there. They would be looking at Girard Street and Victoria Park that has 2-lane traffic, not 1-lane traffic. I mean, at Clonmore Drive, if you go down there at 4 p.m. to 6 p.m., the amount of traffic is backed up all the way over to Main Street because the people are coming home from work from the downtown core. They go along Dundas and they go up Woodbine and they cut across Girard Street that runs into Clonmore. And if you take the time to go down there and witness this, you will see. And it's the same thing in the morning. The amount of traffic is absolutely unbelievable. And we have youngsters down there now and more generations of youngsters coming up. These people down here have been building $3 million houses, as I mentioned, and they have 4 or 5 kids, 3 or 4 or 5 kids now, plus the residents that are down at Fallingbrook Avenue and Courcelette and Blantyre. This will affect them also. And nobody delivering all of these notices, which is 2,000 notices that I delivered. I ran into about 100 people, okay, down there, about 100, and I only had 3 people that said that they didn't care what went in there. And the other, just saying around the 97 people that I talked to, they're out raking their leaves or whatever else when I was delivering the notices of this meeting, were totally against any development that's 12 stories high. It's absolutely ridiculous and doesn't fit into our residential area whatsoever. It's a danger, a serious danger.
Thank you, Mr. Carson. The next deputant that we have, there is one online, I assume. Could you please
All right, thank
unmute
you.
yourself to identify yourself? Sure.
Hello, this is the host, call-in user 647515. Can you please identify if you're making a public deputation today?
Oh, sorry.
1451. Hello?
Hi, could you please repeat that?
Are you calling Malika? 647-515-1451.
Good morning, miss. Could you please identify yourself?
Malika Ghost.
Malika Gios, yes. Good morning, Malika. We will be getting to you in, I guess, a couple minutes. Would David Leslie please come to speak? David, you also have 5 minutes.
Good morning, everyone. I'm not sure exactly where to start with this, but I believe this is about obtaining the consensus of the community, our community. And the previous speaker spoke to 2,000 notices that he delivered by hand. Why? Because our councillor abdicated, and because we had no voice to say that these notices should and could be distributed beyond 120 meters, it didn't happen. So much for the voice of the community. The community never got asked. Back in March the 23rd, there was a Zoom meeting. I don't think it was very well notified. Myself, I found out about it, but I was shut out of the Zoom meeting. So I had to listen to what was going on by what was broadcast on the web. There's a slight flavor of intentional or not skirting the issue, and no one's going to be adverse to something that they don't know about. So there's a little bit lacking there. Councillor Myers spoke to the problem of the builder not being able to make their project profitable if they don't go to 12 stories. I bought a house on Queensbury over 25 years ago. My investment at that time was what it was, and now in the future, the profitability of my house is going to be worth less to me if every time I try to go somewhere I can't get there. This morning I went up Queensbury. I'm about 30 odd houses south of Clonmore Drive. When I reached Clonmore Drive, I was able to observe there were bumper to bumper cars westbound as far as the eye could see, which is beyond Warden. Now, if you have a 300 unit apartment building, let's say most of the people either attend work or have some business in the daylight hours, there's a huge amount of egress with those people coming out of the building. How do they get out of there? And it's a single lane in each direction. It's not like Kingston Road. Now, I refer to a study that was done regarding revitalization of Kingston Road in between Victoria Park and Glen Everest Drive. And one of the suggestions was that they intensify residential uses through modest developments, but not tall apartment buildings. That was what was decided for Kingston Road, which is 2 lanes in each direction. Also on Kingston Road, contrary to what exists on Clonmore, there's a 69 South bus that runs down Warden and up Birchmount, and well, anyways, it goes up. One way it goes is down Warden and up Birchmount, and the other way down Birchmount and up Warden. There's also a variety of buses that run on Kingston Road. On Clonmore, there's a single bus, and I think the service is once every half an hour. You can imagine the pandemonium when several of the residents of this building try to get on a bus that goes only every half hour. Yes, you can walk to Victoria Park and Danforth to the subway station. You see the size of me, I got long legs, and I can walk from my house to the subway station. I better have a half an hour to do it. So the suggestion that you can do it in 20 minutes, I'd like to see somebody on a regular basis do that. Then you have inclement weather where there's improper snow removal because of, thanks to our previous Mayor Mel Lastman, nobody knows what a shovel is because the city's going to shovel the snow away, which doesn't happen. Also, just to the west of this proposal, there's a bit of wetland, and I think we can all say that wetlands are vital.
Sir, I'm going to just give you 30 seconds to wrap up because we've already gone over the time.
So I'm getting the bum's rush. Okay. Bird migration.
We had already indicated that we had 5 minutes, but it's okay. Go on.
The statistics, I'm not privy to the exact number, but there's a huge number of birds die daily because they hit buildings in downtown Toronto. This is a bird migration path. I don't know if you're familiar with Neville Park.
Thank you, sir, for your deputation. We've already gone over.
Neville Park is
thank you.
Is quite a path for migrating birds. It's directly south of this building. Directly north of this building, there's a series of parks.
Sir, thank you for your deputation. We've already gone over.
I'm going to continue on. I spend a lot of time getting here.
No, it doesn't work that way.
Okay, it doesn't work that way. I'd like the record to show that I'm stifled halfway through what I had to say.
Thank you. Next,
and I'd also like to...
any questions to the speaker? Seeing none. Our next speaker...
I'd like it to go on notice that I would like to have representation by a councillor.
And you did. And you did, sir.
I didn't have representation by a councillor. He's abdicated.
We'll have the next speaker.
And so then I
sir,
don't have
thank you so much. Thank you for your time and for your comments. Thank you. Thank you. The next person.
I was called here for 10 o'clock, and I've been here for an hour listening to all the other things that were important to other people, but what I have to say is less important. I see that. I get that.
Thank you, sir. Joseph Kavanagh? Joseph? He's not here. Jeff Ketchum?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for your time. My name is Jeff Ketchum. I live at 210 Clonmore.
Sir, just going to remind you that you have 5 minutes, and I'm resetting your time right now.
Great, thank you.
And at 1 minute before, I will notify you that you have 1 minute
Not a problem.
remaining.
I'd like to state that I've lived at 210 Clonmore for about 15 years. In this community, that makes me, if you excuse the expression, a bit of a newbie. I would also like to defer until we get a council member in the area, because currently we don't have one. I'd like to dispute the planner stating that this Clonmore is a major street. I don't know how they can say that when it's a 2-lane residential road. That is not a major thoroughway. I'm sorry, I can't. I can't. You can't really. I can't understand how the proposal of putting a 12-story building, which is classified as high density, smack dab in the middle of a residential area of low density. The highest density in that immediate area is the townhouses just to the east of it that are currently under construction. I'm not anti-development at all. I'm an owner-operator of a property service company. Please give me more addresses to potentially have as customers. But a 12-story in the middle of this area doesn't make sense when you're currently limiting the construction on Kingston to 6 to 8 stories, and that's a 4-lane road. Where does the sense make of that? I understand the business has to make money to do the construction. I get that. But these other companies are able to make a profit doing buildings half the size. If you want to build higher density, add to where it already exists, over by Victoria Park at Crescent Town or whatever. There's land available there. Or over by Warden Woods, again, practically across the street from a subway station. There's land available and the precedences are already there. If you do put this in, where are these 300-ish units? Where are the kids going to go to school? The schools in the immediate area are practically at capacity. What about the hospitals? We don't have anything in the immediate area. Nothing. I saw on the planner's note there the yellow buildings of monstrosities. I've been in the area for 15 years. I knew nothing about this. Nothing. But he did say that at the same time, nothing has followed through on potential of that going on. That's about all I need to say at the exact moment, other than the fact that I only found out about this thanks to Mr. Carson. Again, I live down the street. The traffic is going to be impacting me, and yet nobody thought to let me know about this? It seems a little odd there. That's about all I have to say at the exact moment. All right, thank you for your time.
Questions? Seeing none, thank you, sir. And the next person is Dale Fitzgerald. Dale?
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you. You have 5 minutes, and I'm just resetting your time right now. 1 minute before, I will let you know so you can wrap up. Good morning.
Okay, thank you. I first just want to thank you guys for hearing us out, the Scarborough Community Council. I do want to remind you, though, that this is the Scarborough Community Council. It's not the Scarborough Business Council. And I think what you've heard today is the community's concerns about this development, and we've been very consistent in our concerns. Our concerns is that this development is not sized appropriately for the neighborhood. And I think, I don't know who responded to or posed the question to a previous speaker, but the question was posed that there has to be a certain amount of space or stories for a business development to make sense, business sense. I understand what you're saying. Yes, it has to make business sense. And I understand, we need housing in Toronto and in this area is no exception to that. But at the same time, our concern should be the community and how we live in this community. It should not be how we can make money out of these areas. So should the priority be, disregarding the concerns of the people who have lived here for years and who have made this the community that it is, or should it be the priority of the developers who want to make money? I think as the Scarborough Community Council, it is your responsibility to represent the Scarborough community and the community that lives here now. So I think you are doing that, and I encourage you to keep that in mind. But I think my message is consistent with what basically everybody else here has said, and it's consistent with the voice of the community from who I have talked to as well, is that 12 stories is too much, it's too big, and there has to be another way to find a way to build developments here that respect the wishes and the spirit of the community, while also kind of allowing development to happen. Any questions for me?
Seeing none, thank you, Dale. We're going to go to our next speaker, Mr. George Vasilopoulos. George? Okay, George is not here. Next is Malika Ghosh. Malika, I think you're online. Good morning, Malika.
Can you hear me?
I can hear. We can hear you. You have 5 minutes, and at the 1 minute, 4 minute mark, I will be reminding you so you can wrap up. Good morning. You can start.
Okay. Hello, my name is Malika Ghosh. I want to thank the council for the opportunity to speak here today. As a lifelong resident of Scarborough Southwest, I wanted to appear before you to express my concerns for the proposed development at 150 Clonmore Drive. This development, if approved in its present form, will cause irreparable harm to our community here in Birchcliff. Core Development Group's proposal is way too big for the surrounding community, which is mostly comprised of single-family detached homes. A 12-story, 290 residential unit building with 162 parking spots will cause traffic chaos and set a dangerous precedent for overdevelopment of non-arterial streets in our neighborhoods here in Scarborough. In the interest of having full public disclosure, I am the current school trustee for the area, but I've taken leave of absence to run for council. And so I can't be here advocating on behalf of the Toronto District School Board. But what I can do is
Malika, you have.
the planning report.
Please
stated.
keep your comments for the item.
Yeah. But what I do want to say, on a report that was stated on November 30th, that the Toronto District School Board concluded that this development will cause schools in the area to express a surge of students entering the school system, and that we do not have the capacity in our local schools to support them. So this is an important issue to me, and I explore all members of the Scarborough Community Council to stop the 150 Clonmore in its present form, and to ask that the planning department look at ways to reduce the size and the scale of the project. Thank you.
Any questions to Malika? Councillor Myers?
Thank you through the chair, and thank you, Malika, for coming. Malika, are you aware that Toronto is in a housing crisis?
Yes, I am aware.
And are you aware that as part of getting out of this crisis, Toronto approved an ambitious Toronto Action Plan on building approximately, don't have the figure, I think it's 135,000 units over the next 10 years?
Is there a question?
Are you aware of that? There's a housing action plan.
Yes.
Are you also aware that as part of the housing action plan, neighborhoods like this, neighborhoods like we all represent in Scarborough, are going to have to accept some level of development, and the development will be more intense than what it was previously zoned for, but that's the only way we're actually going to meet these targets.
I understand that, but if you heard everyone else speaking here tonight, we all have a similar concern, which is the traffic that is going to be caused on that two-way street. And I can't be here on behalf of the Toronto School Board, so I won't say much about that. But our schools don't have space either. They're at full capacity, and we don't know how many more people are going to come into this community. And if the development is going to come, it shouldn't be too big to a fact that there's going to be more traffic chaos.
Yes, and I've looked up the walking distance on Google Map. It's 23 minutes, and I understand the concerns over traffic are valid. It's something we all face in our wards, but part of dealing with this isn't to say we can't approve, developments over a certain size. It's, we need better public transit. We need better biking infrastructure. We need more ways to move people efficiently around the city rather than just planning development and neighborhoods planning developments in neighborhoods for people driving cars. That's not how we're going to be planning neighborhoods in the future. Do you agree with that statement or disagree?
I agree with that statement, but Clonmore is used to go to downtown and to Kingston Road, which many residents who live in the community use on a daily basis to go to work and to go to school and to go anywhere.
Okay, thank you. No more questions.
Malika, actually, I have a question for you. As you're the school trustee, has the school board sent their comments in regards to capacity for this development?
Yes, they have, but since I am on leave, I am not allowed to answer any questions related to the school board as of yet.
Okay, thank you so much. Any other questions to the deputant? Seeing none, before we'll go to the next candidate, deputant, sorry. I just want to make it clear that today's council meeting is here to discuss about this item. It's not a political forum for candidates to be able to speak, just to make it clear. Whoever gets elected will be here in the next council meeting or in the January meeting, and we will, in December, and we will congratulate them and welcome them as our council members. Until then, I want all comments to be made just on this item. And I'm making this very clear. Our next deputant is Parthy Kendaval. Parthy? Parthy? You can speak. Parthy, I would suggest that you have your video off to speak. Just because it also makes it clearer because of we'll have less technical difficulties, if possible. Parthy, we're going to go to the next speaker, and then we can try back once I guess the difficulties are resolved. Our next deputant is Graham Ellis. Graham? Okay, Graham's not here. Oh.
Yes, I am.
Good morning, Graham.
Just unmuted. Good morning.
Good morning. You have. Good morning.
Chair and the esteemed councillors.
You have 5 minutes to speak, and I will let you know 1 minute before the end of your speech for you to wrap up. Good morning, Graham. You can start.
Good morning. Thank you. My name is Stephen Graham Ellis. I'm addressing the council today, this public meeting. I'm not a resident of that area, Scarborough Southwest. I'm one of the people that commute through it almost on a daily basis when I want to go to Scarborough Town Centre or other places in Scarborough. I live in the Toronto Beaches, a different ward, but I guess I'm one of the ones the neighbors don't like because I commute through that street, well, maybe 4 or 5 times a week. So at least that. So I have a pretty good idea about the size of the street, the nature. I do have friends that live in the area that I go visit. It's just not that far from me, 5 minutes away from my home. And what I'm quizzical about that's causing me concern is the nature of the street. It's called a main street. It's not an arterial street. It's not close to a subway, 22 minutes walking. Unfortunately, a lot of Canadians and older Canadians like me, we're not going to walk 22 minutes to the subway. But in any event, Main Street also has a very important connotation to me that triggers some thought that I'd like to pass on. I'm a former city councillor for Ward 9 in the former city of Toronto before amalgamation. I got elected in 1991. I served until December 31st, 1997. I was deputy mayor to Barbara Hall. I was a member of the land use committee from the inception that I got elected. I chaired it from 1994 on. So I knew a little bit about planning. And top of that, I'm a retired lawyer. Part of my career as a lawyer, I was the department head in a major law firm downtown, Goldman, Sloan, Nash and Haber. Did development law, both for developers as well as residents. After that, I've appeared many times on the Ontario Municipal Board, as it was then called, Committee of Adjustment, different community councils across Ontario, as a development lawyer, either for developers or many times for residents, the residential associations. Quite frankly, Main Street means to me the concept that Paul Bedford, the former City of Toronto planner, who's passed away now, who I'd suggest is probably one of the best city planners in the history of Toronto. We came up with my committee, the Main Street proposal, which allowed intensification on main streets, of being allowed to lessen parking requirements and allowing more massing, more density. And that was the main street planning policy that Paul Bedford shepherded in, and we passed through council in the old city of Toronto. Now, I do not see this as a main street. This is not a main street in the context of the Paul Bedford would have, and I don't understand how the planners can now call this a main street. I was looking through the report. Unfortunately, the traffic plan isn't there about the volume of traffic that goes through it. I'd be very interested in seeing that. But in any event, when I saw this proposal, I thought that it was a ploy on the part of the developer to get 8 stories. Ask for 12, let them knock you down to 8 or 9. But I was shocked. I was literally shocked when I read the report, the October 31st report from the planner, from the chief planner from Scarborough, who of course, would take Christian Venceras, who I do not know. And, of course, they adopted the report from the local planner who spoke, and I was shocked. To me, this sticks out like a sore thumb. This is a small residential neighborhood south of it, and of course, there's a lot of intensification going on north of Gerrard and north of Clonmore in the quarry lands, which has been on the books for decades. But you look at the street across the road.
Mr. Ellis, you have 1 minute left.
Neighborhood.
You have 1 minute.
Okay, in any event, before I go, there's another point I meant to say. I don't understand why this is happening now, why this can't be adjourned for a couple of months to let the new city councilor, whoever he or she may be, to go and do community consultation. This is so important to the neighborhood, so important to the city of Scarborough, Toronto and Scarborough. Why not just defer it? Put it over for a month or two. It's not going to have a major impact. Maybe it's going to, delay the developer a little bit, but I can see this going to, the Land Development Board, Ontario Municipal Board, in any event. And I would suspect that hopefully City Council in whole, your council and City Council votes it down, doesn't accept it, and you'll be looking for an outside planner because the city planner now is endorsed at October 31st. So why not put it over? And there's no rush on this. Yeah, we need a lot of housing in Scarborough and across the city, but it's got to be appropriate. It's such a terrible precedent for the rest of Scarborough. Just think about your ward.
Thank you, Mr. Ellis.
12-story building across the road.
Thank you, Mr. Ellis.
Okay, I'm done, basically. I could talk way longer, but I'm done.
Any questions to the deputy? Seeing none. Thank you, Mr. Ellis. We will go to the speaker before. Parthy, are you online? See, Parthy's not online.
Hi there, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
I'm on the phone.
Good morning.
Can you hear me?
Good morning, Parthy. You have 5 minutes to
morning.
speak, and I will be giving you the signal for 1 minute before to wrap up. You can start.
Okay, thank you. And sorry, who am I speaking with? Who's the?
Councillor Nick Mantis.
Okay, thank
You're
you.
speaking to
Chair
in
Mantis
community
for-
council.
City Council, yeah. I'm calling in to share some thoughts for consideration, and good morning to everyone, and thank you for this opportunity. The matter before us is at a time when there isn't a representative, a duly elected representative of the community. And as a result, my thoughts for consideration for the councillors present today is to defer the matter to a subsequent Scarborough Community Council meeting. I served 8 years on the Toronto District School Board, and during those 8 years, we had varying scenarios like the one we're in, where trustee may have resigned, was on a health leave, running in a by-election. There's numerous scenarios where there wasn't the duly elected Democratic representative at the table to ensure clarity, purpose, context, information. Staff resources are there for the residents to understand any major decision that's being made in their immediate capacity. For example, we never took on school accommodation decisions, facility decisions, programming decisions on school where the elected trustee wasn't available to organize and provide voice for the community. So in a similar democratic principle, I am urging Councillors Thompson, Mantis, Myers, McKelvey, and Ainsley to defer this matter until we can follow the spirit of democracy, both in letter and in word and in spirit, to allow the community's chosen representative to help navigate and shepherd this important decision. And I'm saying that not just as someone aspiring to be a councillor, but also as a resident in the immediate vicinity of 150 Clonmore. And the last piece of advice for thought, for consideration, is that we have to take rezoning. Yes, we have to build housing. It needs to be done in a way that follows criteria across our city, and that we're not just blindly building without looking at the same consistent number of factors that go into any development. So what I would share with you, it's a sensitive issue in this community. If you Google December 2020, there was a death of construction worker. I'm very close to that site for the townhomes that are being built right now. There are concerns regarding the rezoning of a commercial retail property, and this is at the heart of the rightful consternation with the Greenbelt and a host of issues within our community where we're seeing the rezoning of important institutions. That car wash, the Sun Valley not too far, has been rezoned, and it creates a terrible or continued precedent where land value changes dramatically because of rezoning. So I don't see the necessity to make such a decision with such implications to our local communities at this point, given that the community will be making a decision very shortly. And I urge councillors to take that into consideration and defer this decision until the community is able to have a voice at the table to articulate and get through all the important pieces connected to a development. This may just be one, but I think the tone and tenor.
Parthy, you have 1 minute left.
With this decision, yeah, the tone and tenor community council sets, I think, will be respectful for building the appropriate culture with the new mayor and the new administration. And I urge councillors to consider that and defer this decision to early in the new year, allowing the new councillor to connect with community and challenge certain concerns and address the need for housing, but also the implications on schools, traffic, and local infrastructure. So I'll conclude with that and reiterate my my advice for the councillors in attendance to please consider deferring this matter to early in the new year or when a subsequent Scarborough Community Council meeting. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Parthi. Any questions to the deputy? Seeing none, thank you. We're going to move on to Sandra Daga. Sandra, are you online?
Hello?
Good morning, Sandra. You're speaking to the Community Council. You have 5 minutes to speak, and I will be letting you know a minute before so you can wrap up. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Council. I feel that all the residents in the area are sort of begging for an opportunity to get heard. We are in the middle of an election, and we don't have a representative who understands our community and the issues at hand. So I respectfully request a deferral of this issue until we get the ward representative. I live on Crescent Wood, so I'm not directly impacted by this, but I did live on Fallingbrook, and I do understand that both Fallingbrook, Clonmore, and Gerard are one-way community streets that are not built for traffic to downtown, let alone additional traffic of these additional residents. So my 2 points are, I request a deferral so that residents in the community are not begging to be heard. They have a representative. As well, the traffic concerns in the area, I can't see how this would work. And again, I was just notified, thankfully, by Philip walking around submitting information to us. I had no idea about this until last Friday, and I live in the area, but I'm not directly impacted. But I feel we need to defer this. We need an environmental assessment, traffic assessment, and proper due course of process. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. Any questions to the deputy? Seeing none. Thank you, Sandra. I'd like to call on Michelle Luca to speak. Michelle, are you online?
Morning. Yes, good morning. Can you hear me?
Good morning. We can hear you. You have 5 minutes to speak. I'm just resetting the time right now, and I will let you know at the 1 minute mark for you to wrap up. Good morning.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair and the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Like the others, I have some of the similar concerns about traffic congestion and wildlife displacement. I work as a senior consultant for a very large commercial real estate firm, and I questioned the lack of traffic studies that have been done in the area. There's a lot of technology to be studying this stuff, and I haven't seen anything that has been done on that. So simple things like geofencing areas and looking at the movement of people over time now can be done easily with mobile data. So I haven't seen anything with regards to what is going to be the impact on traffic. I know from personal experience, having lived in the area for years and friends that commute from that area, it's gotten to be horrendous, as multiple other speakers have spoken about. And I think that needs to be very carefully considered. But more importantly, I'm actually speaking from a buyer of a core property. I have purchased a core development property in Birchcliff Towns, which is at Kingston and Birchcliff Avenue. I purchased it in April of 2019. I was excited to move in there with a delivery date of December 2020. We are now coming on to December 2023, 3 years past the promised delivery date, and there's no end in sight with the multiple delayed letters that I've been getting. And so I have severe concerns about developers that get approvals for all these properties across the city, don't deliver them. And it puts a big burden on buyers like myself. My money's tied up in my down payments, my life's in limbo. I'm not making life decisions because every 3 to 6 months I get another delay letter, and they're constant, and communication with CORE is minimal. Recently I had to go through my lawyer to get a response to a few questions I had.
Michelle, can we keep the comments onto the item in regards to the item?
Yes, this I believe is on the item,
Okay,
because my
thank you.
point is that I think caution should be exercised when developers buy properties. And I feel like if they can't finish a small low-rise development in 5 years, how are they going to complete a 12-story high-rise? And will they leave this area in a state of disarray for decades with traffic problems around it and construction problems, because that's what's been going on in these areas where these developments are not being finished. That's my main point. I think there was a comment made about, are people aware of the housing crisis? I think, of course, everybody is aware of the housing crisis. I think one way to help that is to finish things that are started. And I also think that a lot of these studies should be done that can be done very easily now in terms of planning and traffic and congestion. So I agree that it should be deferred until proper representation is in place. I think a few months delay on the developer is probably a minor delay. It probably shouldn't be a big deal to them, since, the buyers that are buying their properties are putting up with year delays. So that is the comments that I would like to put forward today. Thank you.
Any questions to the deputant? Seeing none. Thank you, Sandra. Now we have finished with the deputants. Now I will ask. There are a couple that we did not see if they were online before, so I'm just going to call out their names one more time, just in case. So Alison Drader, Jenny Assistant, Anchor Assistant, Saad Khan, Sahir Shafiq, Joseph Kavanagh, and George Vasilopoulos. All right. So, seeing none. And, yes, correct. Thank you. David McKay.
Good morning. Good morning again, Mr. Chair, members of committee. David
Good morning,
McKay,
Mr. McKay.
MHBC Planning, representing Core Developments. First of all, we are, again, supportive of the staff recommendation. We heard a number of the comments that were received today through the public meeting process that was done through proper notification in accordance with the city's requirements and the provincial requirements. We worked through those issues, including a thorough review of our traffic study and a back and forth on traffic matters. Staff have found the traffic analysis to be acceptable, and I would look to you for their guidance on that matter. Relative to there was a question about tenure of this project, and it is clear, and I confirmed with my client when this came up, this is a condominium development. Core does do rental projects. They also do affordable housing projects. There is a recent proposal on Danforth that is moving forward, but this one is a condominium. I can't speak to the matters relative to the last speaker about her issues, but as we know, there have been 3 years of turmoil with construction pricing, inflation, and COVID. So I'll leave it at that in that matter. There was a comment regarding, I think the speaker was confused about a main street versus a major street. This is a major street as designated by the official plan. For a 27-meter right-of-way, our client is providing for an over a 3-meter wide widening to provide for future upgrades to that street, and it is appropriate for intensification to occur, especially on that type of major street, in a mixed-use area, which this is. I'd also point out that in terms of the built form, as staff have noted, we have worked with them to address built form matters, to provide for a transition along the street form, provide for a stepping of the building, to reduce the physical impacts that normally are associated with mid-rise development, which is shadow impacts, wind, and the like, and transition. So in our opinion, we believe it's appropriate. Relative to school capacity, as councils well know, this is a provincial matter. It's provincial funding issues, and it relates back to funding of schools and how many pupils are in and out of those schools. That changes over time. And we work with the school boards, as does staff, to come up with appropriate conditions for and notifications for those future residents so that they know what they're getting into. And unfortunately, it is a state of the school boards that we have to deal with, but that should not stop development from moving forward and through the provision of additional housing units that are desperately needed. The last item with regards to comments was about bird migration. There is a wetland that is about 200 meters to the west on the conservatory lands, which are not form part of this lands. Our client has incorporated the bird mitigation measures in terms of the fritting of the windows and different variety of materiality as required by the bird-friendly guidelines and the TGS guidelines. So this building will be a LEED Gold building, meeting TGS Tier 2, incorporating technology like geothermal. So we're trying to get to net zero on this project, and it's, you know, a combination of appropriate parking rates, appropriate built form, appropriate environmental features being incorporated in, and we believe that we have done that, and it will be a very successful project, which again is supported by staff. So with that, I would request that this not be deferred. My client would like to proceed to a decision, and I'd request that you support the staff recommendation, and I'd be happy to answer any questions of council. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McKay. Any questions to the deputy? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. McKay. Questions
Thank you.
to staff? Councilor Myers.
Thank you, through the chair. I'm just wondering, I reviewed the application and I didn't see any affordable housing in the application. Is there a reason, or is there affordable housing in this application?
Through the chair, affordable housing does not form part of the application. The applicant elected not to provide an in-kind contribution under the CBC. There are emerging affordable housing developments in the neighborhood through the 411 Victoria Park approval, a Habitat for Humanity townhouse proposal, and a site that was conveyed to the city, which would now be part of the new housing action plan, and that could yield 120 or more affordable units to the north.
Okay, thank you. And one final question. I do note in the plan that it says that this is a 20-minute walk to Victoria Park Station. Is the site, is the building site accessible for wheel-trans?
Through the chair. So the TTC has reviewed and had no comment. They are satisfied. However, the wheel-trans bus can access a drop-off area, which is proposed on the east side of the development, which would loop off the east end of the site into the street. So it would be accessible in that way.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a final report.
Through the chair, it is a final report.
Right. So tell us how we got here. What's the process that has taken place? I'm presuming that as part of that, you've had meetings, ample notices sent out as are required, both with respect to planning laws, Planning Act, city's requirement, building requirement, part of the process. Can you tell us how we've got here?
Through the chair, thank you for the question. So the original application was submitted in, I believe it was May 2022, so approximately 18 months ago.
And we had a city councillor at that point?
At that point, we did have a city councillor. Staff brought forward, as per the decision history in the staff report, a preliminary report to the May 27th, 2022 meeting. And at that meeting, staff were directed by the Ward 20 councillor at the time to provide notice to the community to undertake consultation activity. At that time, the notice area was expanded. There was a motion, so it went from Gerrard Street East, Clonmore Drive to the north, Vic Park Avenue to the west, and then Warden Avenue to the east, and then Kingston Road to the south. So that was in consultation with the councillor at the time. We had a virtual consultation meeting in March, I believe it was March 23rd, 2023. It was online. We had approximately 17 or so attendees. Many of the issues that were brought up at that time were reiterated today in the meeting, primarily related to traffic. And then I did not receive too much correspondence since then. We have 3 submissions from the applicant, which staff have reviewed, and we've worked with them to mitigate any sort of built form impacts, particularly with the angular plane. So the first submission did have some penetration into the angular plane, which they have since revised, and now we have found that the height is acceptable. And that basically brings us to today's council meeting.
Right. What's the sort of, I guess, the standard, or if there's such a thing as a standard with respect to the heights that's allowed in the area currently? So you referenced as part of your presentation, you showed that, I think it was 1968 or something to that effect, a date, you said that there were heights allowances. What were those as of rights?
Through the chair, so the conservatory group lands, which I referenced in my presentation, have approvals dating back to, there's a zoning approval as of right, dating back to 1968. I do not believe there's actually a minimum height on it. I believe it specified a unit count that they could achieve. However, a site plan application was filed in 2020 for a 33-story building, which was displayed in yellow during the staff presentation portion.
Which there are more than one in terms of height that are exceeding this particular application.
Through the chair, so that particular site plan was only for a single building?
No, I'm aware of that. I'm talking about the surrounding area in terms of the height levels in the surrounding area.
Through the chair, apologies, I misunderstood. Yeah, so there were, it essentially allows for 4 development blocks of tall buildings.
Okay. Can you help me to understand in terms of the context, issues around traffic concerns, issues around congestion? Can you help us with respect to the studies and reports and what the conclusions were as it related specifically to the traffic? And then as a subtext with respect to questions, the school board as part of the process and notification that we're required to go through with the school board and a response.
Through the chair, with respect to the first question regarding traffic, I'm not going to speak fully to that. I will just say that the traffic impact study has been reviewed by Transportation Services staff. They are here in attendance today, and I would ask them to
Perhaps after you're done, maybe they would comment.
Precisely.
That's not your area of responsibility or expertise, correct? That's what you're saying?
That's correct.
Thank you. What about the schools?
So the schools, I'm happy to answer that. So on the 3 submissions, the school boards, both the Toronto District School Board as well as the Toronto Catholic District School Board and the French School Board, were circulated on all 3 rezoning submissions. The Toronto District School Board has indicated that there may not be sufficient capacity to accommodate anybody that would like to go to their schools in the area. And the Toronto Catholic District School Board has indicated that there is sufficient capacity. And we have been advised that through the site plan process, there would have to be a condition included in site plan agreement to that effect.
Okay. So in the case where there is not sufficient space in a specific school as part of the school board response, what do they do then? Do they create busing opportunities for students? Is that what the other options would be?
Through the chair, they create busing opportunities, and the language is very much about, I believe one of the deputants said, the moment in time.
Right.
So the buildings need to be constructed, pupil accommodation reviews could be done. There is a project underway in the area to expand a school.
Right.
that could service this development, as well as portables.
So we're looking at a static and a dynamic process.
That's, through the chair, an excellent way of putting it, yes.
Right. So can you help me? The comment was made about wildlife displacement, and let me just, because I only have 5 minutes, I wanted you to touch on that and the geofencing and the concerns that were raised with respect to those specific items.
Through the chair, with respect to the wildlife, I'm not entirely certain what is being referred to, but I'm assuming they're referring to the fact that it's the conservatory group lands are vacant at the moment. It's a 7.5 hectare site that currently is soft landscaping and grass. Since there's been nothing constructed on those lands, perhaps there is a natural heritage component to those lands. However, they are private development blocks. In particular, they are zoned for apartments. So there has never been a study requested on them. It's a vacant property.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, we're just waiting for the transportation folks to comment.
Yeah, hi, it's Lucas Pawlowski here from Transportation Services. So through the chair, in terms of the traffic questions, there were 2 traffic studies submitted in support of this development. So there was an initial submission in February of 2022, and then a revised study was submitted in January of this year. Those studies were reviewed and accepted by Transportation Services that the level of service that can be achieved on the neighborhood roadways is reasonable with the full build out of this development and some background developments as well.
And just to follow up, there were comments made about the number of parking space or the spots available. Can you tell us what is the current policy with respect to parking policy for the City of Toronto?
In terms of parking, I mean, the current proposal has approximately half parking space for every second unit, which is in line with recent approvals for similar types of developments in the city in a similar context. It's also well within the current parking bylaw in the zoning requirements for the City of Toronto. As you know, in recent years, the parking requirements have been relaxed with respect to residential parking. Part of that is a intent to try and balance the objectives of providing mobility and parking availability, but at the same time not put too much of an emphasis on automobile travel.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions, staff? Deputy Mayor McKelvey? Any questions? No?
Well, just, sorry, I just want to be clear, this has gone through all the regular process. You've had the community consultation and the back and forth with the applicant, and these are the recs before us today that you're putting forward?
Yes, through the chair, Deputy Mayor, it's Mr. Ventresca. That is the process, and just to add some further clarity, the local councillor at the time was present in the community meeting in March, and we have been coordinating with the Ward 20 office staff on the lead-in to the final report today. So these are the recommendations to support the approval of the proposal and amend the zoning bylaw accordingly.
Okay, thank you.
I just have 2 questions for myself. One is the school board, as you had indicated before, that they saw that there isn't adequate or sufficient spaces for the students, and that they would need to be bused. Has any other conversation with the school board, has it already been initiated, or with also the local trustee, to see how more space would be created in the local schools in that community?
To you, Mr. Chair, the pupil accommodation review is something that city planning staff do provide inputs to as it relates to development pipeline and data. So the planners at the school board should be able to look ahead. And as Councillor Thompson was saying, compare the snapshot in time when the memo is issued versus future boundary adjustments to accommodations or capital works that might increase capacity in the area. I can't speak directly as to how that process is ongoing in the neighborhood because we only have the snapshot memo to rely upon.
Okay. And just to clarify, because there were a lot of comments made about the local council representation and the ward office, everything that the councillor would have done for this project and the community meetings and everything that is obligated was conducted. Am I correct?
To you, Mr. Chair, I'd prefer to speak to what was done.
Yes.
Because I can't get into the former councillor's head to
Correct.
see if this is. But if I would, I'd want to paint. But as Mr. Barron indicated through his comments to Councillor Thompson, Councillor Crawford at the time did extend notice to a wider boundary than is usually recommended. Which resulted in another 4,000, 5,000 notices being sent out, did attend the local meeting, and did communicate with staff through his office prior to resigning, and we've been working with the Ward 20 office since to ensure that they were made aware of the ongoing review of the proposal and the report today.
Thank you. Sir, I thank you for your comments. Thank you. But right now, we're not in the process of, we are having, the process right now is questions to staff. I am not incorrect over my comments. We are in committee. I do not want to, sir, I do not want to ask for you to be removed if needed. I don't think it's wise for anyone. Thank you. Any other questions to staff? Councillor Myers?
Thank you, Chair. Second round.
Second round.
Second round, yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Just sort of to pick off your line of questioning, could you just explain, practically speaking, what could be achieved if we were to delay this for a new councillor to come in? What would, if anything, would change?
Through the chair, the report would, and I'd have to yield to the clerk on this, but it would just slide to the next agenda of community council in January. We would not be revising the recommendations nor revising the report. A deferral just moves it to the next meeting. There would be no change to our recommendations.
Thank you.
Any other questions to staff? All right, seeing none. Speakers? Councillor Thompson? All right. So I will speak on the item. And we heard the community. We addressed the questions. We heard the comments for former Councillor Crawford. Councillor Crawford did everything that he was supposed to do. And staff indicated that everything was done. And not only was it done, but he also increased the radius of where the notices were supposed to be distributed, which he's not required to do it, but he did it because he cared about his community and he cared about the residents that are in that area. So I do not accept, and yes, we are in a forum, in a public forum, and questions are made and comments are made. But to say about someone that's not here today for his own reasons is not proper. and we should respect that. Now, seeing of what is being said about the development, the recommendations are valid, and staff is bringing a positive report for this development. Now, are there developers in the area and different developers? We can't all put all developers into one hat and into one bag and say that, well, everyone's the same. Everyone's not the same. Yes, people have in different areas and different development projects have different difficulties, but that doesn't mean that the difficulty of one person, maybe 2 kilometers down the street, is going to be the same as a person that's purchasing or being part of the community and of a project that we're speaking about today. So we cannot generalize. Except for that, I will be supporting the staff recommendations. And I would like to thank everyone that is here today. I would like to thank the staff for all the work that you've done and for the images that you put up on the wall, because to make it clear that as council, we asked that you would prepare them because we wanted everyone to see what is the before and after picture. Just to be clear of what we're going to be expecting and what could be expected in the years to come. So with that, I would like to thank everyone for all their efforts, and I'll be supporting staff recommendations. Councillor Myers?
Thank you, through you, Chair. So I'd like to echo your comments. First, in thanking Councillor Crawford for going above and beyond what the requirements were to make sure that its community was properly consulted. And I'd also like to thank the staff for their hard work on this. This was a tough file, as we can see. And
sir, we are, sir. Sir, we are, and sir, thank you for your comments.
I mean,
you had a chance to speak in the beginning.
This is an area I know quite well. I went to Neil McNeil High School. I actually lived on Fallingbrook for a while, and I lived in Cataraqui Crescent. So I know this area very well. I'm sure you do, sir. I think, these types of conversations are going to be more and more common as we seek to intensify our city. We are in a housing crisis. We have to build in neighborhoods.
Sir, I don't want to, sir.
Can you remove him?
Sir, I don't want to call security. I don't want to call security. Okay? So, let's call a recess for 2 minutes. Let's recess for 2 minutes, for 5 minutes. All in favor of recessing for 5 minutes? Thank you. Ask you politely to leave so I don't have to call security. Mic on? Yep. Now, for any deputant that didn't speak before, I would just let you know that we have already passed into the final process of the stage of the process today, but you still have the right. You can write us an email, submit it to the clerk, or write a letter, which will be part of the public record, and it will be submitted into for this file. So now we will. Yes, Madam Clerk. If you would accept this request from me, could we allow the last deputant to just speak? Because there's only one person left in the room, and then we can make our decision after. Councilor Thompson?
So just to be clear, so we're going to hold the matter down in terms of the decision. We're varying that, we're going to vary our process because the matter was in committee, and we were going to essentially, we're having speakers then to vote. So you're asking us to vary the process, hold what we had started in order to allow a person who had registered to speak, but for whatever reason was not able to speak, but has made it here and wishes to speak.
Correct.
I'm all in favor of that. Supportive.
All right.
Thank you.
John Kvitkovich? Actually, now, good afternoon, John.
Good afternoon. Thank you, everybody, for allowing me the opportunity to speak.
You have 5 minutes. At the 4-minute mark, I will let you know they have a minute left. Okay.
So I appreciate the work that everyone does on council and Scarborough Community Council and how valuable and how influential you guys are. It's amazing to hear that Neil McNeil alumni is here to review what I'm going to say and what everyone else has spoken to. In respect to this, so everyone's spoken about traffic. That's an issue. There's no stopping traffic from Warden to right through the church house. So it's a significant issue, and I understand the study. The massing of this development. The massing of this development, the size of this development, is unprecedented for the area. The developer and planners and other professionals have spoken to the project that was proposed in the 60s that has the 4 blocks and the massive scale in terms of height. The units are limited, and the properties in those areas are large. They're in terms of hectares. This property is a much smaller property with a higher density of units. So the actual development that's happening here is not similar to what's happening to the west, and including to Birchley Park. So I am opposed to this 12-story development, but I understand what will happen will happen. But what I'm going to speak to now is what I think is more important, and that's to the democratic process. So all councillors here have power greater than what you've expressed today. In the next 4 months or 5 months between this meeting and the next meeting, the new councillor, and I'm convinced that the residents will pick an incredible councillor, will have the opportunity to at least look at this development, look at what his thoughts are, and to at least be able to confirm what Gary said or what the residents have said. And I understand that people have said that there won't be changes. But I also understand that this project has no impact on affordability or the affordability crisis in Toronto or Scarborough, because there are plenty of developments and plenty of units. 30,000 units are coming on board this year alone in condominiums. What we need is affordable housing. So what I urge you to do, I beg you to do, I implore you to do. My son goes to Neil, my daughter goes to St. John's. I live at 5 Hunt Club Drive. Please believe what I say. I did not receive a notice prior to this notice coming out, which I didn't receive officially. I received through a resident. I live at 5 Hunt Club Drive. There is nothing to the north of this development other than railroad tracks, and another, north of the railroad tracks is Danforth. You grew up at Cataraqui, you know these areas perfectly. I didn't get notice. I live at 5 Hunt Club Drive. Please believe it. allow this counselor, whatever you guys are thinking, please go to deferral and allow the counselor to have his input. And I strongly urge you to extract affordable housing from the developer and concessions. Because I understand the process, I know where this is gonna go, I know there will be appeals, but you guys have that ability. You have it. The new counselor will have his ability to have, or her, she, sorry, I misspoke there because I don't know who's gonna win. The new counselor will have that on their shoulders. Allow them to have it, please. Allow the satisfaction of the residents to feel like the democratic process. And as the previous, one of the previous speakers, I was listening upstairs and there's a delay between the YouTube and what's going on. So that's why I'm delayed in coming in here. And I wasn't on the list even though I emailed to get in. But that person that's got the development, that has experience with this developer, well, they're powerful. Why? Because they give the experience on timelines. So your deferral won't cost anything. It won't cost the developer money. It won't cost them time, but it will cost democracy. So please vote to defer, I beg you. My name is John Kikovic. I live at 5 Hunt Club Drive, and I really feel like you guys have more power than you guys say you do. Thank you.
Seeing none, we will resume back to the process. Any Councillor Myers?
Yes, sorry. So thank you, John, for your deputation and your passion and your respect. It came across, and, you know, I've listened intently, and, you know, you're right. I don't think it's going to make a difference in terms of what the actual outcome is going to be, but I'm a big believer in democracy. So I will move a motion to defer. If my councillor colleagues would like to support that, please do. If not, it's fine. But I think that as part of the democratic process, we should listen to people. And again, thank you for taking the time to come out and speak with us today.
In favor of Councillor Myers' motion? Yes. Can we put the deferral motion on screen?
So do we get to speak to it?
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
Speak to the item?
Deputy
or-
Mayor McKelvey?
Yeah, look, the new counselor will be there for council and will be able to weigh in council. The city business does need to continue. We saw that earlier this year. And so staff have held the consultations, staff have heard the feedback, staff have put a positive recommendation before us today, and I will support the city staff on that. And the new counselor can have their thoughts at council in December.
Councillor Thompson?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I'm not going to support the deferral. We've heard from staff that the process that has been going on for some time has taken place. The fact that there is an election going on and the notion that simply that after that election and someone's elected, they're going to change what we actually have with respect to this report, it's just a fallacy. The counselor, whoever he or she may be, will be able to be at the December meeting to articulate or pontificate whatever they wish at that point in time with respect to this application. I was here when this matter came forward. I was here with respect to the process that the former councillor Crawford started. I was here and voted for the expanded notification area. I have been privy to the discussions that's been taking place with the former councillor to suggest and to intimate that somehow democracy was somehow usurped because we have a final report that it's taken our professional staff months and months to prepare. That is somehow a negative connotation and a representation with respect to implying that democracy is not being followed. It's just objectionable, quite frankly. The idea that simply we defer and delay because it's something we can do because we don't want to act isn't really leadership. What it is, it's simply responding to the chorus of, we don't want this, because in essence, it's too high, it's too big, the monstrosity of it, et cetera, makes no sense to me. What makes sense to me is that we need to make a decision on this. Every aspect of the normal process of the application process has actually been followed by our professional staff. These are the people that we rely on. And I understand we can defer just to appease a few people. But is that our job? Are we here just to appease? Or are we here to follow policy and rules? And yes, taking into consideration concerns that residents have. And I think that if we look at what has taken place over the period of time, there is nothing in this report that suggests or imply that anything irregular took place other than the appropriate professional process that the staff are required and are mandated and are legally required to do. Every check box that we need to check has been checked and double checked. So to simply defer, to give a sense of expectation that there's going to be another outcome, it isn't right. And I appreciate what my colleague is suggesting and so on. However, he is a younger, learning colleague. And part of what we have, with no disrespect to my colleague, he is not seasoned enough in terms of recognition. And again, I mean no disrespect. I'm just simply saying that we have seen these processes before. And with great respect, and I thank the community for being here, I just cannot basically support a deferral. The last speaker, I think he's very passionate. In fact, I probably would like to have him on council, quite frankly, but he's not running. But I think that he is articulate. My brothers all went to Neil McNeil, so I know the connotation. It's a great school, and I believe him when he says the things that he says here. That's why I supported having him speak, even though we had gone through the process. But I can't, in all good consciousness, accept the idea that we defer to create a level of expectation and more consternation that will take place in the community, and we will be right back at this situation again in X number of months, going through the same process, listening to the same folks who are opposed, because what I find, there's an opposition to this development. Let's be very clear about that. There is an opposition to it. They don't want it. It's not right for whatever the reasons are that they've explained. And I don't agree with respect to that. So that's why I'm going to be supporting, obviously, the recommendations and not support the deferral. But I obviously yield to my colleague right to be able to put that forward. And I thank him for doing that because that's part of the democratic process. Mr. Chair, those are all my remarks.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Councillor Myers, you speak on the deferral?
I spoke already.
Sorry, you already did.
Yeah.
Sorry, you already did. You already did. Then let's put it on to the vote. So, in favor of the deferral, Councillor Myers. Against the deferral? Okay. Now, on adoption of the staff recommendations, in favor? Carried. Thank you, everyone. Now, item number 6. SC 9.6, 50 Wexford Boulevard, application to remove a private tree.
Yep.
Councillor Thompson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of quick questions to staff. Is this a healthy tree?
Yeah, through the chair, this tree was assessed to be healthy and maintainable.
Thank you. There seems to be branches expanded and so on. Has there been discussion with the applicant, the homeowner, about maybe pruning the trees? Because it seems that that was part of the issue.
Yeah, I'm not aware of whether we specifically recommended anything to the applicant, but these are issues that can be mitigated through routine pruning.
This tree doesn't pose a safety to the home. I mean, its proximity is quite a distance away from the actual homes, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, at the time of inspection, the tree was assessed to be healthy and maintainable based on structural and botanical condition. So there was no heightened risk observed or assessed at the time of inspection.
And I'm sorry, I don't think we met before. I'm just wondering if you could introduce yourself. So.
Yeah, through the chair, I'm filling in for Janice Allen today, Supervisor of Tree Protection and Plan Review. My name's Alex Rudolphs. I'm currently the Acting Manager of Tree Protection and Plan Review.
Thank you. Very nice to meet you. We've never met before.
Nice to meet you.
Mr. Chair, those are all my questions.
Sorry. Any other questions of staff?
Nope.
No. Speakers on the item? Councillor Thompson?
Yeah, just Mr. Chair, I want to thank the staff for providing the response to my questions, and I would want to move the staff recommendations.
Okay.
And, I look at the tree, it's a really healthy tree and so on, and I think that if there are some things that are needed, we could perhaps offer some insight to the homeowner in terms to help them to maintain the tree, and the tree is obviously good for their health and the community's health and well-being, and I would just move the item.
Perfect.
Thank you.
In favor of staff recommendations? All in favor? Carried. SC 9.10, Gooderham Drive, traffic calming measures, Ward 21. Councillor Thompson.
Again, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. With respect to the staff, through you, Mr. Chair, you're not recommending the installation of speed bumps or traffic calming devices on Gooderham between Lawrence and Bryan at this time, is that correct?
Through the chair, Councillor Thompson, yes, that is correct.
Right, and this is based on just your normal process in terms of the warrants and the studies to meet the warrants?
Through the chair, yes. When that report was submitted, it applied the previous traffic calming policy, which as of November 8th of last week, the traffic calming policy was updated. So it was applied using the previous traffic calming policy.
The old one. But under the new traffic calming policy, would your recommendation be different?
Based on my preliminary review, I would say yes on the speeds and volumes of traffic through the chair.
Thank you. I'm not sure with respect to the process and the work that's done in terms of the assessment and doing your study, do you also look at sort of the area in terms of businesses that are located in the area and potential impact that they would have on speeding in the area?
Through the chair, it's not part of the technical evaluation insofar, but as part of the prioritization, the land uses, and how we would rank that would be taken into consideration.
Right. So on the corner of Gooderham and Lawrence, there is a large auto dealer. Were you aware of that?
Through the chair, yes, so that our review would have looked at the adjacent land use.
Right. And the concerns and the complaints from the residents over the years, for the last, I guess, 15, 20 years, is that people are testing vehicles and are speeding on that street, Gooderham to Bryan and beyond. Are you aware of those complaints from the residents?
Through the chair, not off the top of my head, no.
Okay. And may I just ask you, can you maybe just describe your position and your authority? The reason why I asked those questions, would those complaints come to you, or that perhaps would go to someone else, perhaps because you have a senior position?
Through the chair, so my position is manager of traffic operations. So if there were requests through your office, through 311, through the public, Toronto Police Service, typically, yes, they would come to my unit. We have a supervisor that looks after that area, so it might not get escalated to my attention.
Right, that's what I wanted.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, that's what I want to address, because over the years we have brought it through the process. And then just my final question, the area in question, we're not asking for speed bumps in the entire Gooderham. The area that is north of Bryan, going north towards the track, you were not asked to provide speed bumps for that area, were you?
Through the chair, you are correct. The studies looked at the road section south of Bryan, and that's also reflected in the alternate recommendations.
All right, and again, the area north of Bryan, do they have sidewalk?
Through the chair, no, they do not.
The area south of Bryan, does that have sidewalk?
Through the chair, yes, there is a sidewalk provided on the west side of the road.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you. Mr. Chair, those are my questions.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Any other questions to staff? No. Speakers? Councillor Thompson?
Yeah. Mr. Chair.
No, I have a quick question.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Deputy Mayor. Deputy Mayor McKelvey?
So this report, would it be different given the warrants that were updated at council last week?
Through the chair, we have not done a formal assessment, but my preliminary review would suggest that it would meet the new warrants that were approved last week at City Council.
Okay, thank you.
Speakers? Councillor Thompson?
Yes, thank you. I have a motion, Mr. Chair. And of course, I want to thank the staff for the work that they've done, but the motion really is to direct staff to obviously alter the bylaws, and obviously we've heard from the staff that the new bylaws that came into effect on November 8th obviously would make this possible, but obviously we had started this process quite some time ago. This is an area that is, well-maintained homes and young children playing in the community and so on. There are actually a number of new families and younger children in the area now. We have on the northeast corner a very successful, I was going to say used car lot, but I'm not going to use that term. I'll take that back. I will just simply say that there is a car dealership lot that's there. They sell all sorts of cars, and in fact, I have actually purchased, I think over the years, 2 cars from that location. So they're very good people, great facility and so on. However, what's happening there, Mr. Chair, over the years is that people will go and test drive the cars. And when they leave from Lawrence and Gooderham to Bryan and beyond, they're test driving those cars, if you know what I mean. The pedal is to the metal, and it has been a huge challenge for the community for quite some time. And over the years, we've tried to work with the car dealer to try to, restrict. We put in no left, no right-hand turns, a variety of things, but no one's enforcing them, and so it continues to be a problem. So I think that this is kind of the best outcome, that we actually place speed bumps in, and speed bumps, by the way, and humps or bumps, they're not humps, but bumps, but there are variations on them, have only become a new phenomenon in my area, where probably about a year and a half ago we put the first in, and we put in several since. And interestingly enough, they actually work. And so I know that they will work here as well. This is what we actually need. So I want to certainly thank the staff for doing their work and being professional about this. And basically, I want to move that. And before I conclude, though, Mr. Chair, I want to just do the following. We have an amazing staff person who has, all of us have worked and interacted with her. She's just absolutely the model of person who provides service, a person who is able to respond to your calls, pick up the phone, a person who I think if I can clone her, I'd probably want to make 100 of her so that she would be working in all types of areas. And that's Cheryl Bodaz McKee, who is an extraordinarily talented person. And I can't say it enough, and though I know she's here with us, I really want her to know that my office have just enjoyed working with her, and I've enjoyed working with her. She has just been absolutely spectacular. And I just want to stress it. She has just been magical. You have a problem, you go to her. And you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about whether or not you get a call back or an email or a follow-up, because you do. She lines up the process. Even when it's not her area of responsibility, she will say, leave it, Councillor Thompson, I will take care of it, we'll follow up with you. And she always does. I just want to say how magical it has been to work with her, because there are times when you don't feel that way about certain people in terms of their interaction with you from your office. My community has been so well served by her, and I'm sure I'm speaking for all of us because it's not unique to me. It's just who she is. She's about excellence. She has a level, a standard. I really wish that at some point she will teach so many others how to do their job in a professional, responsible way. I can't tell you how gratified I am with respect to how her interaction with my office and my community has just been amazing. So we've been well served by her. I just want to take this time to thank her. I understand that she's moving to another position within the city. I'm so happy she's staying. I know that she has indicated that her replacement, if there is such a thing, because I'm regrettably don't think that she can be replaced. She's irreplaceable. I have not met the talented new person yet, but she has spoken so highly of this new person who is going to assume the responsibility that she basically had with us. So I want to wish her well and thank her, and certainly thank her family for allowing her to be such an amazing champion of service and efficiency and about excellence in terms of the work that she's done. She is absolutely amazing. I wish I could have 100 of her. So Cheryl Bodaz McKee, thank you very much for all that you've done. And I can move the motion, Mr. Chair.
All in favor of the amendment? Carried. All in favor of the Can we just finish this one first? No. All in favor of the item? Carried. Now, we're going to have to put up a motion to reconsider item SC 9.3 to amend the date in the recommendation 1 from, because there has been a change from May 29, 2023 to October 31st, 2023. Just a technical amendment. So, in favor of opening the item? Okay. And now, in favor of the amendment? Do we have them on the screen? We don't. Okay, motion to reconsider item SC 9.3, amend the date in recommendation 1 from May 29, 2023 to October 31st, 2023. That is carried. And item as amended? Carried. Now, that concludes our business for today. Now, just the bills, to enact the bills. Can we put the bills on the screen? Confirmatory bills, Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That Bill 1143, prepared for November 16, 2023, meeting 9 of the Scarborough Community Council, be declared as bylaws and passed subject to Section 226.9 of the City of Toronto Act 2006.
All in favor? Carried. Motion to adjourn. Oh, what? One more? One more bill. Councillor Myers.
That confirmatory bills to confirm the legislative proceedings of the Scarborough Community Council acting under delegated authority at meeting 9 on November 16th, 2023 be declared as bylaws and passed subject to Section 226.9 of the City of Toronto Act 2006.
All in favor? Carried. Motion, Councillor
Point of
Thompson.
order. Point of order, Mr. Chair. Ms. Boudreaux-McKee is here, and I know that she has her replacement. I've just wondered if, and I hadn't discussed this with her, but I've just wondered, just before we break, if we just give her an opportunity just to say hello and maybe introduce her replacement as...
Sure. Should we do it now, or should we do it after we...
What else do we have to do? We have to.
That's it. Just to adjourn.
Do it now. Well, in the formal process.
Deputy Mayor McKelvey, motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn. All in favor? Carried.
Right. So shall we? Let's just maybe just get her to.
Through the chair, I guess I don't have to be formal any longer. So thank you to everybody, and thank you for the